I spent the first 15 years of my adult life looking for the perfect chicken enchilada recipe. When I found this one, the search was over. It's always a hit with company, and I can actually make it ahead, put it in the freezer, so it's really easy on the day of the party. It's such a popular recipe with our family that it's become our traditional New Year's Eve meal. Each day during the month of February, I will be using the $4.99 Costco rotisserie chicken as a springboard for a wide variety of easy, inexpensive, delicious meals that are generally very healthy. Tune in every day this month for a new recipe. Chicken enchiladas with tomatillo sauce begins with the tomatillo sauce. This recipe comes from the Creme de Colorado cookbook. This was the Junior League cookbook that was published in 1987. Now, those of you not from the Southwest and not familiar with the Southwest, whenever you get a Junior League cookbook from that part of the world, there's always a section devoted to just Mexican food. Mexican food is definitely what people eat in the West. I grew up thinking that was the best food on the face of the earth. Here's what's needed for the tomatillo sauce. Approximately 2 pounds. The original recipe said 24 tomatillas, but they can be as small as a little grape or as large as a softball. It's about 2 pounds of tomatillos. If you've never bought them before, I now find them next to the tomatoes, and they have a husk on them, and you just remove the husk, and what's inside is this little green tomato. It feels kind of sticky, but I'll wash that off and it'll be fine. So 2 dozen or 2 pounds of tomatillos. The original recipe called for serrano peppers. I'm not always able to find serranos, especially here in the East, but I can always count on a jalapeno. I use only 1 jalapeno. I let people make it spicy by using salsas at the table rather than making the entire meal hot and inflicting that on people that may not want such a spicy food. We're going to cook that in 3 cups of chicken broth, and this is my yummy chicken stock that I've made, and we'll be adding salt to it and a little cornstarch and a little cilantro. If you can make a smoothie, you can make this. I have naively thought I could buy a tomatillo or a green sauce at the grocery store and duplicate this recipe. I'm just here to tell you, nothing beats a fresh tomatillo sauce. Here are my tomatillos and my 3 cups of chicken broth and serrano peppers, but in my case I'm using jalapenos. Put a lid on it. I'm going to cook that for about 5 to 7 minutes until the tomatillos are done. I think it's kind of fun to see these cook. You know, they're this bright green, and as they cook, they become this other color. So that's when I know they're done, is when they've all turned that other color. Okay, my tomatillos are getting to the point of being done, and of course they've got that kind of grayish green color now. They're starting to split open, and just so you know what a tomatillo is, it's in the tomato family. Looks like tomatillo, and when you get to the checkout you'll probably have to spell it for the cashier because they might not know what it is if you are in someplace other than the Southwest. They have a little more lemony kind of a taste to them. So the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to add 2 tablespoons of cornstarch. And of course, you never add cornstarch to a hot liquid. I'm going to put in a little bit of cold water to dissolve it. Cold water, because we don't want it to cook. And while stirring, I'm going to add that to my tomatillos and jalapeno and cornstarch. And you can see almost immediately that's beginning to thicken. And I'm going to add 2 tablespoons of chopped cilantro. I'm going to turn that off put the lid on it, and I'm going to let it cool. This is a very important step if you love your blender. I have ruined a blender by being impatient. It will burn up the motor. I forgot to add my teaspoon of salt, so while that's cooling, I have plenty of time to make my filling for my enchiladas. This is where it gets totally decadent. That was the bowl the chicken was in, and Kirby is having just the best time ever licking it clean. Kitty Kirby. Yes, say hello. 8 ounces of cream cheese. I said it was delicious. I did not say it was particularly healthy, but oh my goodness, is this good. We wouldn't want to miss a single calorie. So I'm putting in 1/3 of a cup of half and half. 2 cups of chicken. 3/4 of a cup of onions, and a 1/2 teaspoon of salt. And I'll put that in my KitchenAid, mix that up. In all of its cream cheesy, half and half chickeny goodness. The tomatillo mixture is about the temperature of, let's say, warm bath water. And so I put it in the blender and just let the blender do its thing. This is some kind of a Glad plastic container that is absolutely the perfect size for a tortilla to fit in and my hands to still fit in. So I'll put not the whole thing, but filling it up quite nicely. I'm going to start making some enchiladas. But in the fridge, that's my filling. And I'm going to put 1/4 cup of the filling inside each enchilada. I like to use a smaller Pyrex pan rather than a large one, so I have a little more control for larger groups or smaller groups. I can pull them out and keep them nice and warm. The easiest way to do this, so simple. The Laurie technique. I take my corn tortilla, I put it in the sauce, and this is still warm enough that it makes my tortilla soft, so it will fold without cracking. And that's the point, is they tend to crack. So I'm going to put several of them in here so they will soften. Put in approximately 1 cup. Oh, Kirby's here. He says, it's chicken time. It's chicken time. I know it's chicken time. Fold it up. Put it seam side down. I did not get any video of me doing a very important step, which is taking some of that tomatillo sauce and pouring it onto the enchiladas to keep them nice and moist while they're cooking. And you can see in this up close about how much I've put. I don't measure anything. I just put in as much as I want. If when they bake, they look like they need a little bit more, I'll add a little bit more even after they've baked, but I want to keep them nice and moist. At this point, I can cover them with foil, bake at 350 degrees for 20 to 25 minutes. After that time, I'll remove the foil, put the cheese on it, and let them bake for 5 minutes uncovered. Or if I've made these ahead, I'll show you how I keep them in the freezer. So I've got kind of a messy countertop here, but what I'm going to do with these is, first of all, I'm going to cover them with plastic wrap so they don't dry out. Then I'm going to put foil on the top and write on there, chicken enchiladas, 350, 20 to 25 minutes. And when I get ready, I'll pull them out of the freezer the day before I'm going to serve them and let them thaw in the refrigerator. 20 to 25 minutes before my company is ready to eat, I will put these in the oven after having first very carefully removed the plastic wrap. That would be a mistake. So I'll remove the plastic wrap, put the foil back on them, and bake them. Just the last 5 minutes of cooking, you're going to leave them uncovered with the cheese on top and just cook them long enough for the cheese to melt. My company will be here in about an hour and a half. And last night I pulled out my chicken enchiladas. that I made 11 days ago out of the freezer. And I put them in the refrigerator overnight and then checked them this morning to make sure they were thawed, and they are thawed. I removed the plastic and put the foil back on. So there they are. Enchiladas all ready to go. And I'll put those in right before my guests arrive. And I love fresh salsa with this, and you guys have seen me make salsa a lot. This one actually kind of follows a recipe. I think it's 2 large tomatoes and 4 tomatillos, 5 green onions. I only had 1 green onion, so I filled in with regular onions. I'm substituting here. You're supposed to use 2 Anaheims. They had the poblanos labeled as Anaheims. Poblanos are pretty spicy. I only used 1 of them. You're supposed to use 2 jalapenos, but my poblano is so spicy, I'm only using half a jalapeno. A teaspoon of chopped cilantro, teaspoon of cumin, half teaspoon of cracked pepper, 1/8 of a teaspoon of salt, not much salt, and a teaspoon of lemon juice. So I'm going to put that in my bowl here and stir it up, stick it in the fridge, and the flavors will be perfect. And then I've got some perfectly ripe avocados. I'm going to make myself some guacamole and get everything all set and ready, because what makes these so good is the wonderful toppings. We are having a kind of a Mexican food potluck. Somebody brought this wonderful rice with lime and cilantro in it. We have a fresh green salad and some black beans and some refried beans. And you can see my guacamole just barely behind the glass there. The Pyrex dish in the middle of the table is the enchiladas. They don't look real exciting, but here they are served. So you can see served on here with some beans and rice and a little green salad. But what makes it so fabulous is to take these wonderful flavors, top the enchilada with some fresh salsa that we made, some of the guacamole, and a little dollop of sour cream. I love to eat the lettuce with it too, that crunch with it. It's just the perfect meal. I promise you this will be the best enchilada you've ever put in your mouth. And when I served this, my guest said, I need this recipe. Enjoy chicken enchiladas and have them for your next party. See you next time.